Welcome to Pontification Nation. I'm your host, Ricky Skittle, as always, coming to you live from my mother's basement. Today, we're going to continue to talk about the Trump shutdown, or the Schumer shutdown, whichever you'd like to call it. Basically, the Trump schooling the liberals, the Democrats in D.C., and the liberal media through Twitter, through the Oval Office. So, if you're wondering what I'm talking about, here's the first installment of this video. We're basically going through Trump's tweets from pre-shutdown time until the State of the Union, and we're discussing how Trump basically wrote the State of the Union on Twitter, and also how Trump is playing the Democrats and the mainstream media. They don't even know that they're playing. They aren't even in the game, and they think that they are ahead of him. Where we left off, our last tweet that we talked about was December 27th, 4:06 a.m. Have the Democrats finally realized that we desperately need border security and a wall on the southern border? So that's where we left off. We're going to get into later this same day, 11:41 a.m. The Democrats' obstruction of the desperately needed wall, where they almost all recently agreed it should be built, is exceeded only by their obstruction of 350 great people wanting and expecting to come into government after being delayed for more than 2 years, a U.S. record. Here again, writing the State of the Union, explaining to the American people that the Democrats are obstructionists, and that's really all they want to do is obstruct. They don't care about you, the people. They don't care about the country. They care about power. And they care about staying in power and forever having power so they can dictate to you the terms of your life. Is that what you want? Next. Here, trolling Barack Obama. This was Barack Obama talking about taking on, once and for all, the issue of illegal immigration. State of the Union. This was his 2012 State of the Union when he was campaigning. Of course, he was talking about fixing illegal immigration while he was campaigning. Guess what? After he was done campaigning, he did DACA illegally, unconstitutionally. And the Democrats still believe that DACA is constitutional. They didn't think that it was Barack Obama didn't even think it was constitutional, because when he was campaigning, he said, well, I can't just take a pen and change the immigration laws. Well, apparently you can't when you're campaigning, but you can once you've been elected and you're in for 4 years and you have power. Donald Trump telling us the truth. Tell it like it is, Donald. This isn't about the wall. Everybody knows that a wall will work perfectly. In Israel, the wall works 99.9%. This is about the Dems not letting Donald Trump and the Republicans have a win. They may have the 10 Senate votes, but we have the issue. Border security, 2020. Now, as Trump is doing all of this, everything that we talked about in the last video, everything we're going to talk about in this video, and everything we're going to talk about in the future videos, I want to tell you something. As a marketer and a businessman, he is polling, right? We all, if you're on Trump's email list, you get the polls on a pretty regular basis. I always fill them in so that he knows exactly what his supporters and his base are thinking, so that he can then act accordingly as far as, the mainstream media, messaging, all of that is concerned. So while he's talking about this, he's doing polling and looking at polling data and understanding where the pulse of the American people are, and he's having conversations about the things that we want to talk about, which is not what the Democrats do. They do polling and focus groups, but not because they want to know what to talk about. They want to know how to frame their message so that we don't understand it so they can get elected. Next. We will be forced to close the southern border entirely if the obstructionist Democrats do not give the money to finish the wall and also change the ridiculous immigration laws that our country is saddled with. Hard to believe there was a Congress and a president who would approve. Now, this is the sheer brilliance of Donald Trump. When you are negotiating, which he's not doing because he knows the Democrats aren't ever going to give him what he needs or wants, when you are negotiating, it is important to understand who the stakeholders in the negotiation are. Right here, he's talking to the stakeholders, okay? Again, we think at this show that there is a strong possibility that there is corruption within our government and that the cartels also pay our government just like they pay the Mexican government. We're going to talk about something else that Judicial Watch just uncovered, basically finding out that the cartels can get C4 from military bases for their contacts at military bases, and that's the military. So let's think about the corrupt politicians, right? They use contractors and stuff like that. It's probably not the military that's actually giving them the stuff. It's contractors that pay off other people, etc. But in any case, that's beside the point. He knows who the stakeholders are. He knows there's stakeholders down in Mexico, either whether they're, companies that are making things and then shipping up here using Mexican labor and then charging American prices to increase profit margins. There's nothing wrong with that. It's completely legal in the way that the setup is. And he never holds people accountable who are just taking advantage of the laws and the people who have been in power in this country for decades. That's why he gets along with Xi, because he understands. He would do the same thing that Xi did, that China did, if he could. He's a little bit more fair than them, but he understands why they do what they do. He is talking to the stakeholders here, and the next series of tweets is all at the stakeholders, and has nothing. He's not talking to the Democrats or us, really. He's talking to the stakeholders who have the Democrats' ear and hold the Democrats' purse strings and hold the Democrats' puppet strings. The United States loses so much money on trade with Mexico under NAFTA, over $75 billion a year, and that's not including the drug money, which would be many times that amount, that I would consider closing the southern border a profit-making operation. We build a wall or close the southern border, bring our car industry back in the United States where it belongs. Go back to pre-NAFTA before, so many of our companies and jobs were so foolishly sent to Mexico. Either we build, finish the wall, or we close the border. Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador are doing nothing for the United States, but taking our money. Word is that a new caravan is forming in Honduras, and they are doing nothing about it. We will be cutting off aid to these three countries, taking advantage of the U.S. for years. Again, directly at the stakeholders, circumventing the Democrats. The Democrats know that he's talking to the stakeholders. This is coming out, and these are the 4 a.m. tweets, like the 4 a.m. talking points. They know exactly what's going on, and the people who he's talking to are certainly getting on the phone with the Democrats afterwards and say, hey, listen, if this guy's going to close the border, you guys got to do something because we're going to be screwed. That's where all the drugs come from. How are the cartels going to operate? They say, 90% of the drugs come through the ports of entry. If we shut the ports of entry down, how are the cartels going to operate? Exactly. They can't. I bet you they're on the phone after these tweets talking to leadership saying, listen, if you guys want the money, you got to fix this because this is not going to work for us. And it's not going to work for our business. Great work by my administration over the holidays to save the Coast Guard pay during this Schumer shutdown. No thanks to the Democrats who left town and are not concerned about the safety and security of Americans. Here he is again touting how this is the brilliance of Donald Trump. Every shutdown previous to this one has been weaponized against the American people by the executive branch. They close everything down. They make it uncomfortable so that you start calling Congress people to get them to do whatever it is you want to do. Trump knows that he wants a long shutdown. He already said it a million times before the shutdown happened. This is going to be a long shutdown because we're maximum pressure. It's a maximum pressure campaign. It's just happening against his enemies in the United States, not his enemies worldwide. So again, letting the people know, listen, these people are crazy. I got your back. We're going to do everything we can to make this as easy as possible for you and as painful as possible for them. The president and Mrs. Obama has a 10-foot wall around their D.C. mansion/compound. I agree. Totally necessary for their safety and security. The U.S. needs the same thing, a slightly larger version. Calling them out. Saying, listen, they all live behind walls, just like he did in the State of the Union. Again, telegraphing and writing the State of the Union ahead of time on Twitter for all of the world to see. An all-concrete wall was never abandoned, as has been reported by the media. Some areas will be concrete, but the experts at Border Patrol prefer a wall that is see-through, thereby making it possible to see what is happening on both sides. Makes sense to me. Now, first of all, we know this is coming in response to some kind of media because it's coming at 4:51 a.m. and the 4 a.m. talking points are already out and the 4 a.m. assault on the American people has already started from the mainstream media. But looking at this a little deeper, an all-concrete wall was never abandoned. Some areas will be all concrete, but the experts at Border Patrol prefer a wall that is see-through, thereby making it possible to see what is happening on both sides. Trump is saying, listen, I want this negotiation to be out in public with the Democrats. I want you to be able to see through their transparent effort of obstruction and destruction of this country. Some areas are going to be concrete you won't be able to see. But it makes sense to me. Again, tweeting and telegraphing and coding and sending messages, the liberal media would say dog whistling. I'm in the Oval Office. Democrats, come back from vacation and give us the votes necessary for border security, including the wall. You voted yes in 2006 and 2013. One more yes, but with me in office, I'll get it built, and fast. Again, talking to the American people about how the Democrats already voted for all of this and already wanted it. And now that it's Donald Trump that's going to actually do it, that's the thing. They'll put all this stuff in place, but they'll never pay for any of it or appropriate it. And they don't build it. None of it ever gets done, right? They put it in place so that they can win elections. They don't put it in, like 2006 and 13, election years. 2014 was the election year, but still in preparation for the election, right? This is right before DACA. They did the 13 one. The Democrats will probably submit a bill being cute, as always, which gives everything away, but nothing to border security, namely the wall. You see, without the wall, there can be no border security. The tech stuff, quote unquote, is just by comparison, meaningless bells and whistles. What he's saying here, again, talking to the stakeholders. The Democrats don't care. All they care about is obstructing Trump. The tech people who fund the Democrats care about the government contract that the people are going to give them and that they're going to get paid, the drones, all that stuff. The military-industrial complex, the tech people, he's talking to the stakeholders here, not the Democrats and not us. Remember this, throughout the ages, some things never get better and never change. You have walls and you have wheels. It was always that way and it will always be that way. Please explain to the Democrats that there can never be a replacement for a good old-fashioned wall. Here, he is basically talking to us, the American people. Throughout the ages, some things never get better and never change. Again, he's talking about how much money earlier, I think last video, talking about how much money we throw down the drain on all this stuff. We have put so much money at the border, and throughout the ages, things have never gotten better and never changed. So this is double meaning. Yes, he's talking about walls and wheels, but he's also talking about how it's crazy that these people continue to say that they're for border security when their actions have shown that they're clearly not for border security. This is a great tweet. Happy New Year to everyone, including the haters and the fake news media. 2019 will be a fantastic year for those not suffering from Trump derangement syndrome. Just calm down, enjoy the ride. Great things are happening for our country. This is directly to us, anyone who is... Listen, I have trouble sometimes with the plan because the plan always takes a really long time, and we want results now because we can see all the facts and data in front of us that tell us that the government, people in government are corrupt criminals. So he is telling us right here, Happy New Year to everyone. It's going to be a fantastic year for those who are not suffering from TDS. Just calm down and enjoy the ride. Enjoy the show, as Q says. Great things are happening for our country. He is basically telling everyone, settle down. We've got this under control. 2019 is going to be the year that we show who these people are and we make thousands of arrests. The Democrats, much as I suspected, have allocated no money for a new wall. So imaginative. The problem is, without a wall, there can be no real border security, and our country must finally have a strong and secure southern border. Again, talking to the stakeholders here. He wants the stakeholders to get on the phone with their puppets and get them to come to the table to negotiate about some form of border wall so that they can get their border technology. One thing has now been proven. The Democrats do not care about open borders and all of the crime and drugs that open borders bring. Okay, so this is the end of his first phase of showing the American people who the Democrats truly are. Now, he goes a little back and forth in the coming tweets, but now he's moving on to facts and data, and that's what we're going to be talking about next. Mexico is paying for the wall through the new USMCA trade deal. Much of the wall has already been fully renovated or built. We have done a lot of work. $5.6 billion that the House has approved is very little in comparison to the benefits of national security. Quick payback. Now he's putting it in the form of, economic ideas, right? Again, he's saying we are losing $75 billion a year in trade to Mexico. So let's say he cuts that in half with the USMCA. $35 billion a year now coming back into the United States, and $5.6 billion is nothing compared to that over long periods of time and multiples. And finally, he's talking about a meeting. So now he's getting into magnanimous Trump here. Important meeting today on border security, Republican and Democrat leaders in Congress. Both parties must work together to pass a funding bill that protects the nation and its people. This is the first and most important duty of government. I remain ready and willing to work with Democrats to pass a bill that secures our borders, supports the agents and officers on the ground, and keeps America safe. Let's get it done. So the facts and data are coming out, and the fact of the matter is Trump is willing to talk, he's willing to negotiate, and he wants to talk and negotiate. So let's get to the table, Democrats. That's the end of this segment. We're going to have the next segment out today and hopefully the last one as well. This is extremely tedious to do and time consuming. And I appreciate you guys, taking the moments to listen and understand a lot about what Trump's doing on the Twitter front and how he is keeping us apprised of everything, no matter how it looks sometimes when he tweets. If you look at everything in context after the story has been told, you'll see that all of the tweets had meaning and there is a method to the madness. Thanks again for listening. Please subscribe, leave a like, and comment. We'd love to hear your comments on, anything, whether it's talking about the wall and what your thoughts are, or talking about anything else. Let us know. Thank you so much for Pontification Nation. This is Ricky Skittle, and I'm out.